The House will come to order. Today, the pledge will be led by Bryson McKim, Judd Ford, Ricky Forbes, Mondi DeBaca from Summit Homeschool Academy, Castle Rock, Colorado, guests of Representative Frizzell.
Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Mr. Schiebel, please call the roll.
Representatives Amabile, Armagost, Bacon, Byrd, Representative Byrd,
Excused.
Bockenfeld, Basenecker, Bottoms, Bradfield, Bradley, Brown, Catlin. Oh, Catlin's excused today. Doherty, DeGraff, Degree Kennedy, Dixon, Duran, English. Where did she go? Representative English. Oh, Epps. Rep Epps is excused. Evans. Frizzell, Froelich, Garcia, Gonzalez Gutierrez, Representative Gonzalez Gutierrez,
Excused.
Hamrick, Representative Hamrick,
Excused.
Hartsook, Herod, Representative Herod,
Excused.
Holtorf, Judah, Representative Judah,
Excused.
Joseph, Kip, Leader, Lindsay, Linstead, Luck, Representative Luck,
Excused.
Lukens, Lynch, Mabry, Representative Mabry,
Excused.
Marshall, Martinez, Representative Morrow is excused. McCormick, McLaughlin, Michelson Janae, Representative Ortiz is excused. Parenti, Puglisi, Ricks. Okay. There she is. Sharbini, Sirota, Snyder, Soper. Oh, he's Representative. Okay. Story, Taggart, Titone, Valdez, Representative Valdez,
Excused.
Velasco, Rep Velasco,
Excused.
Vigil, Weinberg, Weissman, Wilford, Wilson, Winter, Woodrow, Young, and Madam Speaker.
Here. Back and forth there. With 56 present, 9 excused, we do have a quorum. Members, before we proceed, I do want to thank Radonna Bell for singing Hold On this morning. It's beautiful. Pastor Bell and Radana are guests of Representative English, so very pleased to have you here today. Representative Hartsook, it's Friday.
Yes, ma'am, it is Friday, Madam Speaker. I think we'll give it the old college try at this point. So because it is Friday, and it's President's Weekend, and we're still trying to get an aye vote here, I move that the Journal of Thursday, February 16th of 2023 be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
Excellent. You have heard the motion that the journal be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Representative Gonzalez Gutierrez, you outdo yourself. The motion is adopted. Announcements and introductions, members. Representative Bradfield.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I do just want to bring to people's attention that the Capitol Commission, the Legislator Bible Study, will meet Tuesday morning in room 109, 7:15. Looking at the authentic Christianity, please come. We'd love to have you there.
Thank you. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Hopefully all of you saw this invite on your desk. It might be in black and white because we were trying to conserve our color ink. But the last in this series of educational events is going to be Tuesday, February 21st at 8 a.m. in House Committee Room 107. It's a great opportunity to be able to learn about new breakthroughs concerning agriculture, humans, and energy. So a little teaser there for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Soper. Representative Frizzell.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. It is an honor and privilege to serve with you.
An honor and a privilege to serve with you as well.
Good morning, my fellow representatives. This morning, we are being visited by members of the Summit Homeschool Academy. Please join me in welcoming them to this great chamber.
Thank you. Additional members, we do have a tribute this morning. Assistant Majority Leader Bacon.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask the Black Caucus members to come down. Members, thank you. It is Friday during Black History Month, and every Friday this month we are going to bring forward folks from our community and ask for a tribute. So I would like our tribute to be read. Thank you.
Mr. Schiebel, please read our tribute at length.
The House of Representatives convened in the 74th General Assembly hereby extends sincere commendations to Colorado African American youth leaders. In every generation of civil rights advocates, there has been no age requirement for witnessing and responding to racial injustice. During the civil rights movement of the 1960s, Birmingham High School youth organized the March for Students and were faced with fire hoses and police dogs. Today, Black children continue to face disparate odds. Despite these challenges, these students are that much more resilient. Students like Carlota Walls Lanier of the Little Rock Nine, who in 1957, at just 15 years old, was the youngest of the group of students to integrate Central High School. Despite mobs, protests, and the bombing of her family home, she remained committed to the cause of integration and became the first Black woman to graduate from Central High School. She now resides in Colorado, and we are grateful for her leadership. The Colorado House of Representatives thanks America's African American youth leaders, as their work is integral to all of our past, present, and future success. On request of Representatives Jennifer Bacon, Regina English, Elizabeth Epps, Leslie Herod, Iman Judah, Junie Joseph, and Nikita Ricks, given the 17th day of February 2023, State Capitol, Denver.
Assistant Majority Leader Bacon.
Thank you, members, and you may be seated. I'm not sure if you heard, but this day we are going to acknowledge some youth from our community for their continued work to not only build their own communities, but to build awareness around very important topics that help all of us here in the state of Colorado. We do want to acknowledge, I'm not sure if you heard her story, Carlotta Walls Lanier. She now resides here in the Denver metro area, but she was 15 years old and one of the Little Rock Nine. If you all remember any of the scenes from the 60s of children integrating schools, she was surrounded by the National Guard to protect her in doing so. And so all of this month, as we talk about history, again, I mentioned this concept called Sankofa, in which we look to our past to find strength to walk towards the future. Today, we want to honor Black history in the making and celebrating our youth. And so the first group of young people I would love to share with you are students of the Black Excellence Series from McGlone K-8 School in Denver. It includes Naziah Nubins, Nakiva Bolden, Dejan Lewis, Nikila Little, and Markera Turner. The Black Excellence Series is the Voice of Montbello podcast, highlights the Black excellence that exists within our community. Through the Voice of the Montbello podcast, Montbello youth amplify their voices to share their stories and the beauty of their community with the world. Please stand up, young people.
Representative Judah.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm honored to highlight the Colorado Youth Congress, including Sahar Abdali, who is leading the effort to make sure schools are safe spaces for sexual assault survivors, Isaiah Kidani, a board member of the Colorado Youth Congress and the leader of an effort to elevate youth voices at DSST, Byers, and Celine Mesfin, who is leading a statewide campaign for language justice.
Representative Ricks.
Oh yeah, please stand if you're
sorry.
here.
Please stand.
I apologize.
And members, we want to also recognize the young aspiring Americans for social and political activism, including Aria Johnson, co-developer of Aurora Black Consortium Youth Coalition, Sierra Noel, author of an article on mental health equity in education, Stacy Amadou, public health fellow who led the community and participate in the participatory action research with youth for YASPA, Peace Report on Quality and Equity in Denver Public Schools, and Jessica and Jennifer Agri, co-facilitators of the Denver Youth Coalition. Please stand, YASPA.
Representative Joseph.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is an honor for me to welcome the Boys and Girls Club of Metro Denver's 2023 Youth of the Year winner, Nasia Ray West. She currently serves as the president of the Broncos Boys and Girls Club's Keystone Club, where she partnered with Justin Simmons of the Denver Broncos to organize the Montbello March for Peace, a now annual 5K bringing awareness to racial and social injustice in the Montbello community. It is an honor to have you in chambers. Thank you.
Representative English.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is an honor to acknowledge one of my very own scholarship recipients for my scholarship organization for the My African American Miss. I have my 2023 Miss Queen, Miss Taylor Flowers, with us today, and she's joined by her parents, James Flowers and Miss Shana Flowers, and they are veterans. My scholarship organization has been able to give thousands of dollars to young people to help them go to college. Taylor has served countless hours of community service and advocacy work, speaking out against bullying in her school and community. She is a role model for several youth around the state, and her leadership and advocacy for safe spaces for students is commendable. Again, let's welcome Ms. Taylor Flowers and her family. Thank you.
Assistant Majority Leader Bacon.
Thank you, members. Thank you for honoring our young people. I hope that every single one of them find inspiration of being in this building today, that one day they may take over for me as a legislator. But also, again, we just want to say thank you to you all for acknowledging their excellence. We just hope that you young people can see how many adults are rooting for you to not only ensure that you can find peace and success for yourselves and your community, but that you can be inspired to support and serve the state of Colorado. I'm just going to end with a quick announcement. Next week is a continuation of Black History Month, but family, it is also Mardi Gras. Sorry, I'm just chuckling. And so we just want to make an announcement in case for Tuesday that we will be bringing a Black History food treat for you all, and I will be making gumbo. So if you all are interested or allergic, please let me know. Thank you all. Happy Black History Month.
Thank you. Additional announcements or introductions? Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to move the following bills be added to the special orders calendar at 9:25 a.m. You'll currently see on the calendar we already have House Bill 1011, House Bill 1090. I will be adding House Bill 1037, 1137, 1141, 1123, and 1125.
Seeing no objection, the bills listed by the Majority Leader will be added to the special orders calendar at 9:25 a.m. Speaker Pro Tem Degree Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the House now resolve itself into the committee of the whole for the consideration of special orders.
Members, you've heard the motion. The House will now resolve itself into the committee of the whole for consideration of special orders. Speaker Pro Tem Degree Kennedy will take the chair.
Who doesn't apply to this bill?
The committee will come to
Power
order.
sports and 20.
With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there's a request for reading a bill at length. Committee reports are printed and in your bill folders.
And then
Floor
this is
amendments will
the-
be shown on the
this is the
screen and
amendment.
on your iPads. Bills will be laid over upon the motion of the majority leader, and the coat
003.
rule is relaxed.
This
Mr.
one-
Schiebel,
this
please
one
read the
just
title
says,
to House
like,
Bill
illegal.
1011.
Is it legal?
House Bill 1011 by Representatives Titone and Weinberg, also Senator Henriksen, concerning a requirement that an agricultural equipment manufacturer facilitate the repair of its equipment by providing certain other persons with the resources needed to repair the manufacturer's agricultural equipment.
Thank you, Mr. Schiebel. Members, it's already a bit loud in here. Please take your conversations off to the side if possible. Representative Titone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Members, I move House Bill 1011 and the Agriculture Committee report.
To the committee report. Representative Weinberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the committee report, 3 exemptions, which is a self-propelled vehicle, power sports vehicle, and any aircraft used in agriculture operation.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee report is adopted. To the bill. Representative Weinberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, fellow colleagues. Just want to touch briefly on this bill. This will help the agricultural community. I've spoken to a lot of constituents in my area in Larimer, Weld County. There's been an absolute disregard for everything that they've been with regards to this equipment. I urge a major aye vote on this bill today. Plenty of you have asked many questions. If you have anything further, let me know. But we need to push this forward for our agricultural community and make sure that they know that we're here to help them out. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Titone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, members, what this bill does is change the law that exists already on electric wheelchair right to repair. We did this bill last year. It had widespread support in this chamber, and what we're doing now is expanding the right to repair to the folks who have these agricultural equipment. And what's really important about this and why this is really important is because ag is one of the biggest industries we have here in Colorado. There's over 38,000 farms and ranches in Colorado, and it's in the top 10 of agricultural products in the country. So, you know, depending on your location, a service call can cost between $75 to $129 an hour, plus charges by the mile. And if you have a really simple issue that needs to be fixed, and you're not able to do that, those charges rack up really fast. There was one farmer that came to us and talked to us about that he had to have someone type in the code because it reset, and they charged him $950 just to come and reset the code. But the worst part about that is if he had some issues with getting his farm planted or his products harvested, that wait time of not having that equipment up and running is really detrimental to the work that he wants to do and the amount of money he can make at the end of the day. So delays in getting farm equipment has really major concerns and ramifications to a farmer's bottom line. We heard a lot from the manufacturers and people who are opposing the bill, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But supporting this bill, Rocky Mountain Farmers Union, the Colorado corn growers, the Colorado fruit and vegetable growers, the Colorado wool growers, the Colorado wheat growers, and the Colorado Cattlemen's Association. In addition to COPERG and NFIB, that's the National Federation of Independent Business. Why is that important? Because independent businesses can thrive on making repairs locally, saving farmers a lot of time and getting more local people to their communities to be able to fix this stuff. They shouldn't have to truck their equipment 3 or 4 hours to the green tractor dealer to get it done there if there's another place that's local where they can do it locally. Somebody said in the committee that, and they were opposed to this bill, they said, this bill's gonna take us back 30 years. And I really, that statement really stuck with me because what's happening right now, and if you go out on a lot of farms, you'll see farmers using tractors that are 30 years old or more. Why are they buying these old tractors? Because they can fix them. They don't want to have the burden of not being able to fix their stuff. So they're buying old tractors. So we're already 30 years behind right now because the new tractors are not fixable. So we're giving farmers the right to be able to fix those things. And I hope that you urge a yes vote on the bill, but we do have an amendment that I'd like to move Amendment L003 and have it displayed. Give that to Rob.
Give us just one moment. Please proceed. Representative Titone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, in committee, we heard some concerns about liability and the liability to the dealer. And we have a section in the bill around liability. It didn't specifically say that the dealer was not liable for a change that somebody makes to their product that winds up in some difficulties. So we're including the dealer as one of those people that are protected from liability. And then on the bottom section of the amendment, we're saying that nothing in this section applies to illegal things. There was a lot of concerns about this bill allowing illegal activities to happen to the equipment, whether that's having emissions be modified or horsepower modified or safety things being modified. All those things are still legal with this bill, and just to make sure that we satisfy the sense that that is true, we're spelling it right out in the limitations for this section of the bill to make sure that everyone understands that illegal stuff is still legal, even if this bill turns into law. So I ask for a yes vote on Amendment L003.
Representative Holtorf.
I think the minority leader is going to want to talk to you about something. Over there and visit with him about an amendment. Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I ask the Chief Clerk for a copy of that amendment, please? Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to point out some information to the chamber that I think that's important. This right to repair bill has come through before and failed. Last year it came through as a wheelchair accessibility issue that had nothing to do with agriculture.
Rep. Holtorf, let's stick to this
Yes, Mr. Chair. So with this particular amendment to this legislation, there was a lot of talk about liability. As you release information, technology, codes and coding, there was talk about embedded code and then other script code that can be modified. And this particular amendment came up because of the serious considerations that come about with intellectual property rights, what code should be accessible to independent repair persons, what code for modification or adjustment or updating or resetting, what code should not be accessible to independent repair persons or companies that may cause liability issues. For example, if you have a warranty on a very expensive piece of equipment, we know these tractors are north of several $100,000, $200,000 to $500,000 for a tractor. So if you want to get into agriculture, you better get ready to cash in your 401k or your retirement plan just to start turning dirt. But having said that, these very complex technical pieces of equipment now have a lot of IT, embedded IT, and also diagnostic IT, software, hardware, systems that are getting more complicated every year. This amendment flushed out of committee, and I appreciate the bill sponsors bringing forth the amendment. I just don't think it goes far enough. I don't think it goes far enough, because if you go down to section 4, okay, the limitations, okay, nothing in this part authorizes an independent repair provider or owner to make any modifications to agricultural equipment that permanently deactivate a safety notification system. Okay, that may be in that embedded software. But if you do, the discussion was, if you do turn up the horsepower on a tractor through digital coding, because it's controlled by the electronic systems and the computer systems, then you may cause warranty issues that now the manufacturer, previously under liability rules, would have to stand, but now that the computer systems have been altered, now that liability changes. Who altered the codes? Who allowed the tractor to overspeed or go into an over-temp situation because of someone wanting to raise the RPM? So this amendment has been brought forth, and it does state that no independent repair provider owner can make those modifications that permanently deactivate a safety notification. Additionally, under Roman numeral 2, access any function of a tool that enables the independent repair provider or owner to change the settings of a piece of agricultural equipment in a manner that brings equipment permanently out of compliance with any applicable federal, state, or local safety or emissions laws. This right here, I believe, is where we have an issue. This particular line 20 through 24, Roman numeral 2, talks about and addresses the issue that was brought up in committee about emissions. Everybody knows if you want more horsepower, you need more energy. If you're going to need more energy, you have to create that energy. Greater energy, greater horsepower leads to greater discharge. Doesn't matter what it is. It might be exhaust, it might be heat. But that has to go somewhere. So in this particular case, we're talking about emission standards, for example. Now, if anybody has been out on the farm, as I have, and you're turning dirt, dirt is really heavy, and it takes a lot of horsepower to pull those implements through the ground. And there isn't anybody that farms that doesn't want more ponies to pull their equipment. The bigger your equipment, the faster you can get your work done, because you can cover more acres. But this particular portion doesn't go far enough, because if you just talk about federal, state, and local safety or emissions law, which also makes me concerned, because what kind of local laws are we going to pass, or state laws that say we can't, that may box us out of farming? But also, does it cover everything that involves that piece of equipment? Also, evading emissions or copyright laws. I'm not sure what those would be. There's many, many emissions laws. And also, this is a very important paragraph, which I really appreciate the bill sponsors putting in this amendment, by the way. This last one, number 4, engaging any other legal, illegal equipment modification activities. That kind of is a broad brush. So that's a good line in there. Now, I've been told that some consideration has been given here in the chamber, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the change in cultural norms that says now we can have a debate in this chamber, in the well, and we can make modification and amendments to bills, even though perhaps they weren't brought up in committee, because no good ideas should be left on the table. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the next person that wishes to speak, my representative from Loveland.
Representative Weinberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wish to move Amendment L012 and ask that it be displayed.
Is a substitute amendment, Representative Weinberg?
Oh, it's an amendment to, hold on.
Representative Titone.
Yeah, sorry. We're moving Amendment L12 to amend Amendment L03.
Thank you.
Sorry.
It's quite all right.
My bad, I forgot.
The amendment is properly before us. Please proceed.
This amendment will put in provisions so that people cannot evade emissions, copyright, trademark, or patents.
Representative Titone.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So yeah, we was pointed out to us that we had copyright in there, but not trademark and patent. We don't want people to be able to evade those, so we're adding that in, and it's a friendly amendment, and I ask for a yes vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L12 to Amendment L3 to House Bill 1011. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendment L12 is adopted. We are back to Amendment L3. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L3 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the amendment is adopted. We are back to the bill. Is there further discussion? Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was in committee and heard this bill, and as I said earlier, it has come before. Last year, we did pass a bill that dealt with the wheelchair and the disability community. And just to contrast, that particular piece of equipment, less than $20,000, typically 10 used, is usually half of new, is a rule of thumb we use in the country. But now we take and extrapolate this particular type of bill to agriculture. And what happens is you put zeros on the end of those numbers. 10,000 becomes 100,000, 20,000 becomes 200,000. So you put a couple zeros on the end of that. Now, the reason I'm coming to speak is a few things were not offered in committee that I wanted to bring forth to the chamber just as a point of information that I think is relevant. Now, before I get started, Mr. Chair, I want to explain that this bill cuts both ways. Now, I know you're going to ask, what does that mean, Representative? What I'm going to say with regard to that is this bill, yes, is a consumer rights bill, and it does help get tractors and other technical equipment repaired. But here's the problem that it can cause. And I'm going to offer some information and some testimony that will potentially highlight that. The problem is, in the country, when I was young, we used to have an implement dealer in every town. Not every town. I mean, if you have a town of 500 or less, you know, has anybody been to Elba, Colorado? Elba, Colorado. There's about 5 houses there, and only about half of them are occupied. Beautiful little community. Good families there, multi-generational families. But there's nothing there as far as services. There's no gas station, there's no general store, there certainly isn't an implement dealer. But in the community like Akron, my hometown, between 1,500 and 2,500 folks that live there. My whole life growing up, there was an implement dealership there. Now, it was a John Deere dealership, and I know John Deere is a leading manufacturer of agricultural equipment, not only in the United States, but in the world. And in committee, it felt like the John Deere dealerships really were getting misrepresented. But I don't want to speak directly to that right now. What I want to say is I'm concerned because in the dealership business, you have a sales department and a service department. And for my cousins from the city, the urban concrete jungle, it's just like your car dealerships. If you want a car, you can buy a car and you can get your car serviced at the dealership. Or you can go to the independent shop down the street. But here's the difference. You have those every so many blocks, within so many suburbs and so many communities. But in the country, and most people know this, your sales department has a certain percentage of revenue that comes into a dealership, and the store, let's just call it the store. And then the service department brings in a certain level of revenue to the store. What happens when potentially this creates an imbalance? And then the service department already right now strained, and I'm going to get to the real problem. It's not this bill or this consumer rights issue. The real problem is something very different, and this bill isn't going to fix it. But then this dealership who makes, let's say 60% of their revenue comes from service, let's say 40% comes from sales. Let's say you cut that service department in half. Now they're only going to get 30% of that revenue. And then they become a distressed store. Now, for those of us in agriculture, we know we have had a significant challenge because just like in banking and so many other things, the small mom and pops are going away and they're getting bought out by bigger and bigger dealerships, bigger and bigger enterprises, so they can use their economies of scale to keep stores open. Now it's regional. All the little stores are gone. My hometown doesn't have an implement dealership or a service department anymore. Yes, there's a couple of independent folks there and a couple independent shops, but you can't get parts there. You have to order them in. And you can't get that dealership support because the store is gone. I'm really concerned that if we continue to focus on this intellectual property, the computer systems, and other such things, that those service departments might become distressed and that would cause the dealership to become distressed. And then it goes away. And what you need to understand, ladies and gentlemen, when something goes away in the country, it never comes back. It hardly ever comes back. So I wanted to highlight that point. This is not just a simple bill that says, oh, let's be champions for consumer rights. Let's let all these digital and computer systems be sent out and given to the independent operators so they can work on everything. Now, something that didn't come up, Mr. Chair, in the committee was this, and I'm going to actually, and it's unfortunate that this didn't come up to the bill sponsors because John Deere Customer Service Advisor System, which is a trademark system, already offers to the consumer everything that this bill is asking. Now, just specifically for John Deere. But it comes at a cost because the company has spent millions of dollars developing the computer software, the computer hardware, the diagnostic systems, the routines and the code that need to be written, the interfaces, the connections, and all those things for their tractors. That comes at a great cost. So John Deere, under this John Deere Customer Service Advisor program, allows for agricultural and turf equipment web applications. And they are offered to anybody. Any citizen can have access to this. I don't know if the bill sponsors knew about this program. It's a comprehensive program. Now, the cost is $2,700. And you get a one-year license. The digital database allows operators and technicians, including independent technicians, to have access to digital technical manuals. You don't even need to download the applications because they're all web-based. They come in computer, tablet, and smartphone formats. Now, those of us know that that doesn't come for free. Somebody has to write the code, someone has to develop the routines, and even one of the bill sponsors is an IT expert. So he would know this better than anybody. Now, John Deere, for these services, and oh, by the way, you can look up every diagnostic code on any piece of equipment under this particular program. But it has a subscription fee, just like everything else. You can also get 2 hours of dealership training. And it is quite comprehensive. This particular program services 14,500 models of John Deere agricultural turf, utility, and compact construction equipment. It also includes, now think about the cost to develop this software for that many systems. Who could do that? Well, only a large company that has the ability to invest a significant amount of capital in IT development on 14,500 pieces of equipment. I think we call that a heavy lift in the IT world. Let me continue. The agricultural equipment also does all of the 5 Series tractors and larger. If you're not in agriculture, you may not even understand what that is. And I would be curious if the bill sponsors even know the different sizes of tractors and models, because none of them come from agriculture. They live around agriculture in the cities. They may have worked at one time in their life for a short period of time supporting agriculture, but do they really understand the industry? Also, you can have up to 4 people assigned to use the system. So if you're an independent dealer, 3 more of your technicians could actually sign up and use this anywhere in rural Colorado. Now, Mr. Chair, I'm going to get to the real problem here in a minute. I don't want to wane on all morning. I don't want to lose the attention of the folks that are here. But here's the problem. For all of you that now are listening, here's the problem. Just like so many industry sectors, we don't have enough technicians. You don't have enough nurses in hospitals and clinics and senior living centers. You don't have enough repairmen in your car dealerships. There are so many sectors that don't have enough people to do the jobs that we ask them to do, and we hear it every week in this state capitol. They're not out there. So is it the manufacturers that's causing these challenges directly? I would say the real problem is we haven't built the bench of technicians in so many fields in this country and this state. We have ignored the fact that we need plumbers, electricians, HVAC technicians. We need nurses. We need construction workers. And we also need, to the bill, we need agricultural service technicians. And this bill doesn't solve that problem. It doesn't directly solve that problem. So this problem isn't going to immediately get better, even with the safety clause. If it has a safety clause, I'll have to look here, take a look at the bill. I think it's in here. No safety clause. Okay, well, good. Then we didn't abuse the safety clause. That's a good thing. But this equipment self-repair program is quite comprehensive. Manuals, operators, parts and service, quick reference guides. The dealership also provides product service demonstrations, training, seminars, and clinics online or in person. There's access to all kinds of publications, service parts, operations, and safety. Onboard diagnostics, diagnostic ports, and wireless interfaces are also available, of course, not for free. None of this was brought up in committee and testified directly towards. Specifically. Now, I will tell you on my farm, I've seen this in action. I've seen a service technician, both John Deere service technician and independent technician, get on their phone. Of course, you got to get on a tall hill or a windmill if you're where I'm from, or the top of your barn. But you go to high ground, you find that broadband service, capture 1 or 2 bars if you're lucky when you're sitting on the top of your pickup or your truck or your service vehicle. And then you make some phone calls, you get online and look at some data parts manuals and things, and you find those parts and you can actually order them. So I've actually seen what this bill is promoting in action. And I've had independent contractors working with John Deere who probably paid for the prescriptions for the services that are offered here, and I know they do because they used to be former John Deere technicians. And they get the parts. But here's the other problem, Colorado, and to my bill sponsors and everybody in this chamber. Because of the way we manage taxation, and I spoke about this a year ago, nobody keeps parts on hand anymore because you know what at the end of the year the state wants to do? Tax your inventory. Parts cost a lot of money. Taxing inventory is a horrible program for business. Now, I know it's not to the bill, Mr. Chair, but then you have to order the parts and they have to come in. And that takes 1 or 2 days. And you talk about supply chain disruption, you're not getting your tractor or your combine fixed during harvest in 1 day because the parts aren't even in the stores, and both service dealers and independent repairmen can't get the doggone parts, and that's our fault because we don't create a business-friendly climate that allows them to inventory, and they can't afford the extra taxation. Now, to this particular thing, so here's one problem. We don't have the technicians. Here's another problem. We don't have the parts. But yet we think with this consumer rights activism, it's going to solve the problem. When I've just explained to the bill sponsors that some of these programs already exist under proprietary license and an expense. And I'm not going to say that it's cheap. It's not. It's between $5,000 and $10,000 to be involved and enrolled in these things and have full access to everything they offer. Now, I think that's all I have at this point, Mr. Chair, and to the bill sponsors. I think there's some important points that I've brought up that I think need to be considered, and I also think there might be some additional amendments that need to be put on this if this is the direction this body chooses to move forward in.
Representative Weinberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to my colleague for all of the sentiments he just provided to the chamber. Just very simply, everything I'm hearing is that if this wasn't a problem, we wouldn't be here today. When I'm talking to my constituents out in the rural area and they're telling me that they're buying third-party illegal software from Russia, trying to fix their own machines, that is a problem. They have had time to fix this issue. Clearly, as nothing has been done. It is time that we put something forward and pass something to help our ag community. That is what is at stake here today. Very simply, to all the colleagues on my side of the aisle, this has been talked to for months. For months, farmers are angry, genuinely angry that they cannot fix their own equipment. On the conservative principle side, when you buy something, you own it. Where are we on the conservative principle of that basic sense of ownership? This is ridiculous. I urge an absolute yes vote. We'll be opposing all amendments. Thank you.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and it's an honor to serve with you.
And also with you.
So I rise in opposition of this bill, House Bill 1011, also known as the Right to Repair Bill for agricultural equipment. Before I go through why I'm against the bill, I do want to thank the bill sponsors for running the last amendment and the amendment to the amendment. It certainly helped ease a lot of my concerns, so that was a great give on your part, so I appreciate that, and I just wanted to lay that out here. But I do want to say that the right to repair already exists. When you buy a product, that becomes your personal property, or if you're a business, it becomes your business personal property. You already have that right currently to be able to repair that product, to tear that product apart, put that product back together. But what you don't have is the ability to do that and then to also send it back and have further repairs undertaken and have them be under the warranty. So the minute you start changing the product, you void or violate the warranty. And that's a contract that exists out there. So this bill is actually contractual interference with what already exists in the marketplace, with what already exists in business. Most products that are being advanced as a right to repair are highly complex and potentially very dangerous products. The average third-party repair shop, much less than the consumer, does not possess enough knowledge to adequately repair these devices. This bill is trying to force companies like John Deere or Massey Ferguson or New Holland to release their intellectual property to the end consumer so that they can start undertaking certain repairs. However, that still doesn't help the individual farmer. If John Deere, for example, releases their software for the diagnostics on the tractor, and by the way, these new tractors are really giant computers and multiple computers on board as well. If you release it to allow a third-party company to develop their own diagnostic system, what's to say that that diagnostic system, as we previously heard from my colleague down here, that some are being pirated from Russia? I don't want a pirated system. I don't want a system developed by a third party that hasn't been certified by the manufacturer of the product, a developing software that's supposed to determine whether the engine's broken or whether it's running correctly, where the fault exists, because the person who knows the product best is the manufacturer of that product. And the person who has a responsibility for that product is the manufacturer. This really is about products liability, but it's also about protection for intellectual property right owners. So the manufacturer is also going to be the patent owner. They're going to be the trademark owner. They're going to be the copyright owner. They're also going to be the owner of trade secrets as well. So those four rights are the bundle of rights that exists that the manufacturer holds. Which is why I've had drafted several amendments to try to help this bill, because I think it is important when we think about what would really help the manufacturer. So with that, Mr. Chair, I move I move Amendment L005 and ask that it be displayed. Yeah. Oh, I gave this to you previously.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what this amendment does is it changes security code or password to embedded software. And this is a really important change to the bill, because if something is password protected, that illustrates that whatever is being protected is a trade secret. That's something that the company does not want to release, that they're keeping it internal. That's why you have a password protecting it. It'd be like Coca-Cola having to release the recipe. The recipe is housed by two people. It's password protected in the safe. Only half the recipe exists in each safe. And if we don't get this amendment, we'd be telling a company like Coca-Cola that you would have to release the password so that we can get the recipe. That's what's being talked about here. You can apply that analogy to New Holland or Massey Ferguson or John Deere. Just take your pick on your favorite implement dealer. This is a good amendment, and I would ask for a yes vote.
Representative Tatone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate my colleague from Mesa County. Delta County, sorry about that, and your amendment. But the problem with this amendment is, and I'll illustrate in an example. We heard from one of the farmers who called their technician. They came in, they did some work, they reset the machine, and then after they left, a little bit later on that day, the machine stopped working again, and it required the code. So the technician had to come back and put that code in, and it cost him another $1,000 to do that. What he did was looked over the person's shoulder and wrote the code down, and then he just did it himself. He said that on the news. This is no secret. He said it right on the news report. So that's why these are important. If we limit these things, then the repairs still cannot be completed, and they still have to be tethered to the technicians and the dealerships for those repairs. So I ask for a no vote on this amendment.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to my good representative from Jefferson County. I would respectfully disagree. While I appreciate the story, it still illustrates that it's a violation of a trade secret, and what that farmer did by looking over and writing down the code still would have been a violation of the trade secret. So I'd ask for a yes vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L5. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no? No. The noes have it, and the amendment fails. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, okay, if that amendment didn't work, I have another one. So I move Amendment L006 and ask that it be displayed. I only have one copy.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what this amendment does is it says, with respect to agricultural equipment, any repairs performed pursuant to this Part 15, including repairs performed by an independent repair provider, must be disclosed to a subsequent buyer of agricultural equipment. And this is incredibly important, members, because if you have someone making a repair independently by themselves, and then they go ahead and sell that equipment, which exists all the time in agriculture, probably more so that you're buying used equipment, and you have a company that gets a reputation for always having equipment that breaks down, and it could be that it's used equipment, it's that company that takes the hit. Their brand is tarnished after that. Their reputation is tarnished. And that's why a disclosure policy is incredibly important, because if someone is going to be undertaking a non-certified repair, a non-manufacturer sanctioned repair of that particular product, and it's something that could also violate the warranty as well, that be disclosed to a subsequent purchaser so that they know exactly what they're purchasing, because they could be purchasing a limit based on the first person's tinkering around with the product. And it's important that we disclose, because we're talking about highly complex pieces of machinery, and I would ask for a yes vote.
Representative Weinberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Soper, for doing that. I mean, this one seems a little far-reaching for me. What about a false positive sensor? Every little thing we're going to put on a note here. This is not done in any other industry. I don't see why we would do this. This seems like overreach at this point. I would urge a no vote on this amendment.
Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do want to point something out to the chamber in my amendment, the amendment that's brought forth by my colleague from Delta. The representative is pointing out that with respect to this amendment, if we're talking about consumer rights, this particular amendment addresses the buyers who buy that equipment after the warranty has expired and this particular tractor has been traded in for a new tractor, potentially. a new tractor from a dealer, and then that particular tractor is now on the secondary market. Here's why this is so important for consideration. Most small and medium farms are buying used equipment. I think of myself. When I bought my John Deere 8360 tractor, a 360 horsepower tractor that costs more than my home in rural Colorado. I bought it, I was the second owner. It was purchased new, used for typically a 3 to 5 year warranty period, and then the big boys and girls in agriculture trade them in and get a new one. And then there's people like me that are in the secondary market looking for an opportunity to get a tractor so we can farm in the mid-sized market or small market. There is no way that small to medium farmers can afford this new equipment. It's not possible unless you want to mortgage your home or maybe the whole farm. And oftentimes that's how farmers get divorced, particularly if that goes south. Because mama's not putting up with that. She's not going to give away her home for your tractor so you can turn dirt, with few exceptions. So this is really important because this protects that secondary, the second purchaser or third purchaser of equipment. And this is a very robust market in agriculture. So this provides some additional protection. So I encourage an aye vote on this particular amendment, and I think it actually needs some more work. I would tell the amendment sponsor that he should run an amendment to the amendment to get more clarification and specificity. But I'll have that conversation with him at a future time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L6. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, no? No! The noes have it, and the amendment fails. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I was hoping for a few more yeses there. But don't worry, I have another amendment. So, Mr. Chair, I move Amendment L007 and ask that it be displayed.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is building on Amendment 6. And what Amendment 7 does is it concerns the liability side. So I'm hoping to gain some support from a good colleague from Denver over here. Yeah, no. I'm trying to solicit support anywhere I can. So if the disclosure is not made, it allows the owner, if it becomes faulty or otherwise improper, to seek civil damages in 3 times of the actual damages. And I would ask for a yes vote. Thank you.
Representative Titone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, I appreciate my colleague from Delta County to try to help us with this bill. But, we've got this bill pretty well figured out in the liability space. There's no reason to do this. What happens in the bill currently, if you do a repair that causes damage, you're responsible for it. No one else is responsible for it. There's no reason for a civil action to be levied on anybody. The person who screwed up their tractor is going to have to deal with the screwed up tractor and get it fixed. They're going to have to do that anyway. So I ask for a no vote on this amendment. It doesn't really add anything to the bill. We already have liability covered in there. So ask for a no vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L7. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no? No! The noes have it. The amendment fails. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, we're working here. working on trying to make this a better bill. With that, Mr. Chair, I move Amendment L009 and ask that it be displayed.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this concerns the patent holder's right that if the person making the right to repair engages in patent infringement, the patent holder has a cause of action against the person in state court for treble damages of the award for the patent infringement case. This is very important because patent infringement cases are very expensive. They take a lot of time and money and resources to be able to litigate out. And that if the person is going to violate the patent owner's rights, there needs to be further sanctions to that, because that is a property right. And that's something that we stand strong on in this country and in this state. And I would ask for a yes vote.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, you know, Rep. Soper, I think that we're all agreed that there should not be infringement of patents. I think the challenge here is, one, we have remedies in federal law, as I think you noted. The other is, I believe the U.S. Constitution and federal law commits exclusive jurisdiction over patent infringement matters to the federal courts. Maybe what you're trying to say is there's something like a ride-along derivative action here. At any rate, I'm somewhat surprised to see amendments coming from this side that would tend to exponentiate litigation, on top of which I believe that there's a possible legal question about whether we can actually create this kind of action in state courts. For that reason, I think a no vote is better.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L9. All those in favor, please say aye. All opposed, no. The noes have it, and the amendment fails. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. I move Amendment L010 and ask that it be displayed.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what this amendment does is it limits the application of the bill to only products that were manufactured and sold entirely within Colorado. And that's really to have a chain of custody of the products within our state, because after all, that's what our state can control. I think it's really difficult to go beyond our state borders and try to use Colorado law to have this long arm approach to manufacturing, because what we do here in Colorado affects other states, it affects interstate commerce, and that if we're forcing companies that are selling in multiple jurisdictions to have to release security codes, passwords, they're having to open up what I would argue would be their patent portfolio as well, their good name and reputation as well, if that's violated, that at least have it be entirely within Colorado, the entire chain of production. And I would ask for a yes vote.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This seems to be my day to engage in legal duels with my good colleague from Delta. So I want to say first, I appreciate the work that Reps. Titone and Weinberg are doing, and I intend to support the bill when the moment comes. For that reason, I fear that this amendment would quite narrow the scope. First of all, I think we all know we deal in complex supply chains and parts sourced from all over the world. So if we say entirely manufactured, we're possibly reducing the scope of the bill to zero, which is one concern. To respond to what I think were the emanations of a Dormant Commerce Clause argument, you run into a Dormant Commerce Clause problem when you are extraterritorial in your application. I think what's going on here is a legal framework as set forth in the bill that would apply even-handedly. If we tried to differentially prejudice out-of-state economic actors to advantage in-state actors, now you have a dormant commerce problem. That is not what is going on here. So I don't believe those problems exist. I don't believe in limiting the scope of this bill, as I believe this amendment would, so I'm going to ask for a no vote.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L10. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. The noes have it, and the amendment fails. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I greatly appreciate the robust debate. It's very good. Yeah, I think we're getting closer. I'm just feeling it. Mr. Chair, I move Amendment L011 and ask that it be displayed.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What this amendment says is that a right to repair may only use genuine parts licensed by the manufacturer. This is incredibly important because when we're talking about the manufacturer's ability to maintain their good name and reputation, their brands, good quality, that also means having good quality parts placed within their product. So we're talking highly complex products here. Think New Holland, John Deere, Massey Ferguson, pick your favorite implement company. Very complex pieces of machinery that are really giant computers. It's important that when someone is putting in a part, that be a certified part from the manufacturer so that the part that's actually going into the tractor will work as it's supposed to work so that the company doesn't end up having a bad reputation from the repair that was made. And that's all we're asking here is that it come through the manufacturer and they be able to say that, yes, we put our seal of approval, it will work well. Thank you. And I ask for a yes vote.
Thank you for that clarification. Representative Weinberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you again, Representative Soper. Basic fundamental conservative principles. If I want to buy an OEM part, then I should be able to make that decision and make that choice. This is America. It's all about the freedom of choice, freedom to choose. If I want to go and 3D print a part for my tractor, I should be absolutely allowed to do that. Again, I urge a no vote on this amendment.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I do want to respond to one comment that was made. So currently, when we're talking licensed or certified parts or products, they are made by independent OEMs. And they may be made in our country or they may be abroad, but those are who's actually doing the manufacture. I mean most companies are not fully integrated and vertical in their production. And so they're going to be turning to an OEM to actually make those, and oftentimes they'll improve on them, right? They'll make the product better, but they'll go back to the patent holder or the ultimate brand holder. So the parent company would be John Deere, and they will show them the improvements that they've made, and it actually creates a better product after all.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L11. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. No. The noes have it, and the amendment fails. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I think we came very close. I mean, just audibly hearing the votes. But I do just want to talk a little bit more to the bill, just because it concerns me the direction that this bill is going, because it's one in a series of bills. Last year we saw the right to repair wheelchairs. This year it's agricultural products. I worry overall that the next bill that's going to be coming next year, I mean, could it be laptops, cell phones, cars? I mean, I think just name your favorite product. And it's quite concerning if you're the company and you want to make sure that you're producing the best product out there you can, and you have a brand to uphold. It's one that's known for quality, it's one that's known for durability and being dependable, and to then have to release your software, have to release your patents, have to really be forced to release what would otherwise be at least design patented products for an independent third party to produce that you cannot control, because it's part of patent law, is that you have an obligation to police infringers. And what this bill is basically saying is that we as a state are encouraging patent infringement, at least design patent infringement, if we're forcing a company to release certain tools to then allow independent third parties to engage in repairs. And that's not what we want. I fear that this bill sets Coloradans up for being sued in federal court. I think that there could be a clear case for that. The only reason why that may not happen would be a company, it's not to their benefit to sue a consumer, but if it happens on a wide scale, they're going to be forced to. Because in order to keep your patent or your trademark or your copyright valid, you need to police those rights. And so we've created a scenario within this bill where at some point in time it's going to collide. And I don't like the direction this is heading. I fear for those intellectual property right holders, and I think that there's a much better way. And the free market does work well. As a matter of fact, I received the Memorandum of Understanding between the American Farm Bureau and John Deere. And this is where even just the threat of legislation changes policy. So this memorandum came about because of this legislation. And the Farm Bureau and John Deere got together and they said, we're going to have a 50-state MOU and we're going to effectively address the concerns that are raised in this bill, but we're going to do so in such a way that the company is able to guarantee that these are certified licensed parts, genuine parts, that actually fit within the product, that ensure the product works as it was designed to do, and that it will work for the duration that it was intended to work for per the inventor who had invented the product. And this is the way you engage and change policy. I mean, this is the free market at work. The heavy hand of government is not what I like seeing in bills like House Bill 1011. So because of those reasons, I'm going to be a strong no vote on this bill. But I do appreciate this robust debate that we've had here today. I think we came very close on some of these amendments. And yes, please vote no.
Representative Titone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the debate as well, and I appreciate my colleague from Delta County with all of his interest in this, especially in the intellectual property space. But what really just it comes down to ultimately are the facts that farmers in the state of Colorado are advocating for this bill. And I could read you off the names of all those organizations again, but I think you know who they are. They want this because the MOU that was discussed is a contract with a private company, and they can end it anytime they want. It's written into the MOU. They can cancel it. And in 2018, they did. So a statute really stands the test of time and gives this ability for those farmers who really need it right now. Just recently, the Department of Justice made a statement saying that John Deere should let farmers repair their tractors. If what they're giving and what's available is sufficient, would this be something that they're saying? The fact is that 53% of the market share is owned by one company. And when you control all of the aspects of repairing it, do you own it? And is that a monopoly on your own product? And Apple does the same thing. And a lot of these other companies, you can't get anything that you think you own it, but you don't. And this is the problem. The bill doesn't allow third parties to develop software programs like was talked about earlier. All it does is require the manufacturers to make the tools available at a reasonable price. And the first sale doctrine of copyright states that once a physical item is sold, the intellectual property holder loses the right to control distribution or resale of the physical item. So for all these reasons, farmers want to keep being in their fields, they want to keep going and get the work done, and they don't want this thing to get in the way. When they have repairs that need to be done, they need to do them right now. They have enough problems to deal with weather and climate and rain and pests. those things are out of their control. The repair of their tractor should not also be out of control. They should be in control of the repairs they can make so they can stay out in the field and get the work done. So I urge a yes vote on House Bill 1011.
Representative Lynch, Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I firmly believe if you're going to sit in committee and vote against a bill, then you need to come down and talk on it. I had the privilege of sitting in on the Agriculture Committee on this day and want to share my thoughts on this bill. And from what I heard in committee, I did not hear complaints that were outside of the fact that people were unsatisfied with the service they were getting, the availability of technicians, and this bill didn't directly go to fix those issues. And I really believe this is a free market issue that we need to, not as a state, step in the middle of and get in the way of the free market. I would like to say thank you to the bill sponsor for the early amendments and the other 5 people that are actively involved in this conversation this morning. Also, I've heard from dealers, I've heard from manufacturers. I have the honor of having in my district an agricultural manufacturer that it would be adversely impacted by this. The thing we run into is if we continue to do harm to these dealerships that are already becoming scarce in this state, we run the risk of when we come to an issue with our equipment that we can no longer fix, we'll have no ability to elevate that to somebody that can actually fix it if those folks are no longer around. And in closing, there's some information that came to me that did not make it into committee that I would like to make sure gets into the record from I won't name the dealership that sent this to me, but I would like to read this. And it says, I'm writing to voice significant concern with the Right to Repair initiative that often address 2 similar but very distinct issues: access to diagnostic tools and repair information, and access to software codes embedded in machinery or in a device. Unnamed Equipment Company is a John Deere dealership with 5 locations in Colorado. We employ more than 65 people. Our dealership strives to bring our customers value in all we do. To do so, we spend significant capital each and every year to ensure our technicians have the latest safety and technology training. While equipment has become more sophisticated, manufacturers support the customer's right to repair and has built advanced diagnostic capabilities into equipment that are available to the owner, dealers, and others. The others, just to add a caveat, would allow for independent repair shops outside of that dealership to get into the business if they're willing to buy into those repair tools. Continuing on, and for those customers who require even greater diagnostic capabilities, the manufacturer will provide subscription access to specialized diagnostic tools similar to the tools we use to support our customers. Customers should be able to expect the same level of information for their tractors and combines across manufacturing brands. It is an appropriate solution that makes so-called right to repair legislation unnecessary. Adding to that, just because other manufacturers have not caught up to John Deere is not a reason to punish John Deere for their efforts that came about through the free market for them to do the right thing for their customers. Continuing on, that is why manufacturers and dealers made an industry commitment to make available by model year 2021 the tools farmers need to navigate onboard technology. End users have the access to onboard diagnostic tools via in-cab displays or wireless interfaces, electronic diagnostic service tools, and training on how to use them. Manufacturers and dealers will also make available manuals, product guides, and product service information. However, to the extent an owner has the right to lawfully repair his or her equipment, manufacturers recommend against unauthorized modifications and embedded software code. Modifying or reverse engineering of embedded software can create situations where the vehicle does not meet customer expectations, may exceed acceptable emissions levels, or might create an unsafe environment for those operating the vehicle. We did hear in committee, just so you know, technicians that said half of the reason people want to make these diagnostic changes is to get around the emissions and add horsepower to their equipment. Continuing on, those near to the vehicle or close to those repairing the vehicle are in risk. Customers are able to farm better today because of better, smarter machines. The advanced software that powers these machines enables more uptime and better diagnostics, in addition to all the very important efficiencies they bring to the job of farming, like speed and precision that farmers have never had before. Right to repair is a complicated yet important issue. We believe the best solution can be achieved when all parties talk together and allow the marketplace to shape the most appropriate solution. The best solutions are not likely to come via legislative mandates. For these reasons, we urge you to oppose House Bill 2011, Right to Repair. Once again, I believe this is an issue that can be fixed from the free market, and additionally, this is kind of unnecessary legislation at this point, so I would urge a no vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 231011? Seeing Representative Weinberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very small, very simple. I urge an aye vote. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 231011 as amended. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 231011 is adopted. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of House Bill 231090.
House Bill 1090 by Representative Weissman, also Senator Rodriguez, concerning a prohibition on the purchase of debt issued by a metropolitan district by any entity with respect to which any district director has a conflict of interest.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1090 and the committee report from THLG.
To the committee report.
Thank you. Members, the committee report was essentially technical in nature. The thrust of the bill is to say that if you have a disclosable conflict of interest, you should not buy debt that you had a hand in issuing. In the introduced bill, that premise is set forth in a new section of the Special District Act. It was suggested to me subsequent to introduction that a better way to set that forth might be not in a new section, but by integrating it into existing sections of the Special District Act that folks are used to looking at. I thought that was a good idea, so I ran that amendment in committee. That is the essence of the committee report, and I ask for a yes vote on the committee report.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Taggart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move for an amendment for the committee report.
Amendment 4 has been properly moved. It's Amendment L007, please.
L007.
If you could say that. I move.
I'm sorry, L007, and if we could display that.
Okay. Amendment L007 has been moved
And I'd like to summarize
and
this
is
amendment.
properly displayed to the amendment. Representative Taggart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'd like to summarize this a little bit. Where this bill in the committee report talks about a prohibition to developers taking on debt for their metro districts. This particular amendment works very hard on transparency. And in the first part, there is a registered municipal advisor that the metro districts would employ to, in fact, certify that the debt that is being created for these metro districts is the lesser of two mathematical approaches, which is also in this. And it goes on to say that this debt can't have a maturity longer than 40 years, and then at the bottom, it defines the federal, where you can find the information in federal statute about a registered municipal advisor. But I stress this amendment focuses on transparency as compared to just a prohibition. And the reason for that is debt is very difficult to secure at the beginning of a metro district because there's no revenue stream at that point. So there are very few vehicles other than a director/developer doing debt until the revenue starts, when it can be replaced then by a bond with the revenues being pledged against it, and that is tax revenue at that particular point. So thank you. I would ask for an aye on this amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Appreciate the chance to talk about the approach set forth here. I think there are three things wrong with it. First, to speak to the amendment, so this is essentially saying, I know the text is pretty dense up there, instead of what the introduced bill proposes, which is a prohibition on this conflicted debt, which is often very high interest and expensive to the taxpayer in nature, we have an alternate approach. I think the substance of the alternate approach is insufficient for two reasons. One, we're talking about a specific index. It's the Thomson Reuters Municipal Market Data AAA General Obligation 30-year constant maturity or successor index. Okay, that is a proprietary public debt interest, public indebtedness index. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. I do find it problematic that we're going to bless as a statutory matter that plus 400 basis points or 4%, and to say that in all cases that is an acceptable type of debt burden to put onto future resident taxpayers in the district. Look, in some cases it may be appropriate, in some cases not. I don't think it's worthy of being blessed as a statutory matter. I've seen some of these municipal advisor letters, and I find them to be, I'll just put it, coming short in a few cases. At any rate, Madam Chair, the title of House Bill 1090 speaks of a prohibition. Having pulled up the Merriam-Webster online dictionary here, prohibit is to forbid by authority or to enjoin, to prevent from doing something or to preclude. This amendment, rather than a prohibition, actually continues to authorize a certain practice, and for that reason, I believe that it does not fit under the title, and I ask for a ruling to that effect.
A title ruling has been requested. The committee will stand in a brief recess. The committee will come back to order. The chair rules that the amendment does not fit under the title. Representative Weissman.
Thank you. I just asked for the adoption of the committee report.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report is adopted. To the bill, Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, now that we're to the bill, I wanted to say just a bit briefly to kind of frame the issue, and then I expect we'll have some discussion down here. I think when we talk about metro districts, it's important just to get some terms straight, to be clear today what we are and are not talking about. We sometimes hear about a Title 32 district. We probably use that term in committee. That is a broad term. That could mean what we're talking about here, metro districts. It could mean RTD. It could mean SCFD. Heck, it could mean the Moffat Tunnel District. I want to be clear, we're not talking about that whole broad universe. We also sometimes hear and use the term special district. That is kind of an umbrella term for districts organized under the Special District Act, logically enough. These are districts organized to do one thing, and there's a lot of things that they can do. In the law, fire prevention services, libraries, parks are some common ones. There are approximately 3,000 of these in total in the state, many of them decades old. We probably all have one of these in our districts. I have Title 32 fire districts. I have Title 32 library districts near me. That is not what we're talking about here today. We are talking about specifically metropolitan districts, which are kind of a special instance of special districts that do two or more of the permissible things in the Special District Act. Now, nothing inherently wrong with that. There might even be an efficiency in it. But what we're really talking about here today is a special case of that special case. We're really drilling down here. I'm going to use the term just a development district. That's not in the law, but we need some term to know what we're talking about. These are districts created to bring about commonly, or in the case of this bill, a residential subdivision. We don't have homes. We don't have voters yet. So unlike your neighborhood parks district, unlike your neighborhood library district, you can't have a normal election. You don't have an electorate. You don't have people to be candidates for office. The way that we organize one of these things is folks involved with the development effort come together. They go to the local government for a service plan. They are the directors. They are the ones who get the whole thing together, commonly 5 in number. They don't own land because there's no houses to live in at this point. Our law allows folks to become directors of these development districts just by a contract to buy land in the future. What's the problem here? This isn't a normal kind of Tabor election, all right? We have a 5-0 vote to create debt and then to impose taxes to pay off that debt. We have a 5-0 vote, and people who are going to live there in the future are going to pay taxes for many, many decades. It's because I believe this type of configuration is so very different than just about everything else that goes on under Title 32 that I bring this bill today, and I'm asking for everyone's support. Really, we're doing one thing here in House Bill 1090. To be clear, we are trying to prevent the phenomenon whereby the very same people who, wearing the hat of district directors, vote to authorize debt and impose taxes that are going to pay off that debt, and then subsequently taking off the hat of being a district director, putting on the hat of somebody involved in the development effort, buy the debt and profit by receiving interest payments on the debt. Now, to be clear, there is a role for government debt. There is. The state has debt. That's what a metro district is. To be very clear, a metro district is a government. If folks didn't hear that, a metro district is a government.
You might not have heard that because it's a little bit loud in the chamber. If we could bring the volume down and move it to the side if you need to have a conversation. Thank you. Representative Weissman, please continue.
Appreciate it, Madam Chair. Governments exist. Governments are there to provide services that people need. That is not really a radical proposition. Governments issue debt, sometimes to pay what they need to do, and folks buy that debt and they receive some kind of interest payment for the privilege of having lent their money to the government. So far, so good. Usually, though, the people purchasing the debt are at an arm's length from the issuance of the debt. That is not going on here. That's the problem. Again, the power to tax and spend is a core power of government, but in, I think, every other case, we have legal restraints, Tabor, a more robust version of Tabor than we're talking about here, and political restraints, accountability to a present tense, present day electorate to restrain the exercise of that taxing and indebtedness power. I think decades in now, in 2000 we had about 200 metro districts in the state. Now we're over 2,300. We're adding about 100 a year. Decades of experience has shown that I think this restraint is lacking in some cases when we talk about metro districts. HB 1090 is here simply to restore some of that restraint. But, Madam Chair, in the interest of being very clear, as we seek to restore that restraint, I move Amendment L5, and I ask for it to be displayed to clear up a little bit of business that we talked about in committee.
Amendment L5 has been properly moved. And is displayed. Representative Weissman, please tell us about your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, members, what we're doing is we're adding a little bit of clarity to Section 3 of the bill that speaks about breach of fiduciary duty. We're setting forth a requirement here. You can't buy debt that you had a hand in issuing. We go into the local government election code and we kind of cross-reference back to that. There was some concern that something that we're doing here is to enable a criminal offense to be brought forward and sustained by a preponderance standard. We don't do that in the law. We can't do that in the law. I don't believe that that concern is really all that much anchored in the text, but I'm very happy to clear it up because we certainly have to prove up elements of any criminal offense beyond a reasonable doubt. That is all this amendment is saying and doing, and I ask for support for L5.
Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Representative Wilson. To the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'd like to offer an amendment to the amendment. I move L009.
L009 has been moved. And please hold on until we properly display it.
Move it later.
The substitute amendment has been displayed. Please renew your motion that you move a substitute amendment.
I move a substitute amendment.
L009. Okay. Now it has been moved and almost properly displayed. So close. And properly displayed. Representative Wilson, please tell us about your amendment.
Thank you. This amendment strikes Section 3. There is nothing wrong with our current criminal code on how these things are handled, and it's unnecessary in this bill. Thank you.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to ask for a no vote on, I guess this was moved as a substitute amendment. To be very clear, we're not talking about the criminal code. The criminal code is Title 18. Title 18 is not in the bill. Section 3 is the local government, specifically 24-18, is the local government ethics code. I want everybody to be really clear about what's going on here. In the rest of this section 109 that the amendment is touching, we set forth the beyond a reasonable doubt standard for breach of fiduciary duty. Beyond a reasonable doubt is the criminal standard. That's the nature of the underlying amendment. We do not use the beyond a reasonable doubt standard anywhere else in civil or adjudicative matters. I actually don't know the history of how come that standard came to be put in this part of the local government ethics code. I won't speculate on that. The reason that preponderance is set forth for this new element is because, look, we are all public officials. We have to exercise a zone of discretion. I spoke to this a little bit in committee. I just decided I wasn't going to change those other aspects of when a complaint might be able to be brought against a local government elected official. Here, though, we are talking about something that is, I think, very clear-cut. You purchased debt or you didn't. There's going to be documentary evidence of this kind of thing. Therefore, in that case, I believe the customary civil preponderance standard is the appropriate standard to use. The underlying amendment clarifies, as I was happy to do, that if there is a crime and if something truly egregious were to happen and the DA chose to proceed, I suppose there could be a criminal charge brought forward separately from the question of breach of fiduciary duty in the local government ethics code. That still has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. We're not debating that. I wanted to clarify that. I've traded a bunch of emails with representatives of the developer industry in the last week to clarify that. I told them I would do this amendment. That's why I did it right away. I object to the substitute amendment here, and I ask for a no vote.
Is there any further discussion on the substitute amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of substitute amendment L009. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The noes have it. The substitute amendment is lost. We are back to the original amendment. Representative Weissman.
Thank you again, Madam Chair and members. As a reminder, I agreed to this. I think it makes sense. I'm happy to do it. We need to prove any criminal offense beyond a reasonable doubt, not by a lower standard. I ask for the adoption of L5.
The question before us is the adoption of L5. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. L5 is adopted. To the bill. Anyone? Representative Taggart.
I have two principal problems with this bill. The first problem I have with this bill is taking this authority away from local government. My district, we have metro districts that have worked very, very well. And our city council, as well as our county commissioners, are more than capable of developing the right service agreements with developers to make sure that this is a good metro district and it's going to be managed well and it's not going to abuse taxpayers down the road. And I find it troubling when this institution starts to say, we know more than our local officials do that have been doing this and doing it effectively. The second part of this that's really problematic to my district is the fact that we are blessed with terrible soils in western Colorado. We have a tremendous amount of bentonite and shale just below the surface. So the cost of infrastructure for new development is very, very high. And because of Tabor, which I am a big supporter of, because of Tabor, it is very difficult for our municipalities to be able to afford infrastructure of major new development, in this case, residential development. And because of that, the developers put that money forth. The proponent behind this bill says they should put the money out in advance for their development, which in some cases can be tens of millions of dollars, and not get any return on their investment. And keep in mind, this initial infrastructure, the debt is not marketable. And I'll stress that again, the debt is not marketable. And one of the reasons the debt is not marketable is the revenue stream hasn't started. The tax stream hasn't started because of the fact that individuals haven't started to buy the lots. So if we put this bill in place, we basically kill development in western Colorado because we need these individuals, these developers, to front this money, and they are entitled to get a return on their investment. Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a pleasure to serve with you.
It's a pleasure to serve with you, Representative Taggart. Representative Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you. It's a pleasure to serve with you.
And a pleasure to serve with you.
Thank you very much, members, for the opportunity to speak. I just want to say, as a former local government official, metro districts are local governments. They raise and lower taxes, and they make decisions about how to invest public tax dollars. And I believe in my core that those who are entrusted with positions in local government must commit to the highest ethical principles. People need to be confident that those in positions of public responsibility are committed to high levels of ethical and moral conduct in order to have faith in their government, and that their faith in government is, or that their government is acting for the public good. You know, as a city council member, I was specifically barred from voting on, discussing, or even participating in the consideration of any matters in which I, my family, or a business of mine that I was an employee of or a director in or had any interest, had an interest in. This was written into our city charter more than 30 years ago. To do otherwise would have been essentially self-dealing, granting myself, my relatives, or my business contracts, or grant just something that I could personally profit from. We should expect the same high moral standards of all our local officials, whether they're serving on the board of a metro district, a city council, or otherwise. That's really what this bill is about to me. It's about making sure that those who are entrusted with public positions are not using those positions to enrich themselves or their businesses. It isn't about shutting down metro districts. It isn't about preventing affordable housing. It's about making sure that public officials are acting in the public interest and not using their positions for personal profits. I'd ask you to support 1090.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I very much appreciate the words on this point by our colleague from Louisville. I think they illustrate very powerfully from firsthand experience frankly, how this type of district that we're talking about is different. The representative from Mesa County spoke about we don't want to limit what local governments can do. For most other local governments, I don't, and again, they're not in the bill. Take your county. There's a board of county commissioners, 3 or 5. Those folks are accountable to an electorate. If voters don't like the decisions they make, including on debt and taxes, they can be voted out. Same thing your city, same thing your town, same thing your library district, same thing your fire district. The problem here is this is an almost singular kind of government. I don't even think there's many analogies to it in most other states, even as those states need to do development too. You have 5-0 votes imposing debt and taxes that people will pay who do not have a chance to participate in that. So I do believe a different set of laws for these very different local governments is appropriate. Now, to the point about the debt not being marketable, I respectfully disagree. What typically happens here when a district is getting started up is you have a first position issuance or a senior debt issuance, and that is sold to third parties on the market by public finance professionals who are involved in this. Most commonly, that senior debt is bought by other folks. The problem really comes in when we get into what is called a junior debt or second position or second tranche or subordinated, you can call it different things. I have seen examples of debt structures that I'm happy to show anybody here. I've got them in this folder and in this notebook that are profoundly problematic, where you have $1 million and change principal running away to 10 million or more by the time the interest gets done. That's really the problematic practice. The debt is marketable, and it is marketed to, the vast majority of the debt is marketed to third parties. If the debt weren't marketable, we wouldn't be building things in this state under this mechanism, even under this mechanism. Now, to the point about developer recoupment of costs, look, it does cost money to prepare a lot for a home to be built on it. I've never said otherwise. The accepted figure, you'll find this in publications from the Special District Association and otherwise, order of $30,000 to $40,000 per lot. Nobody's saying that that should be given out for free. The bill does not prohibit developer advances, which are basically contractual agreements between the district and the developing party or multiple development parties for that matter, to the point that such an agreement might not be enforceable in the future. I mean, that's crazy. This is a contract. Contracts are enforceable. There are penalties for violating contracts, sometimes severe ones. I mean, it is not my interest to stop development in Mesa County or anywhere else. It is my interest to stop problematic practices that make living in developments burdensome for our taxpayers. I ask for a yes vote.
Representative Taggart.
I just want to correct one thing that was said by one of my colleagues. This bill prohibits local government for entering into a service agreement. It prohibits it. It goes on to say if there's a conflict of interest, but it prohibits this, and that brings things to a halt. And that's Section 1. So we're not giving local government the ability to do what it does so very, very well.
Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Creating more affordable housing is a priority for many of us. If we don't have multiple mechanisms to fund infrastructure, how does affordable housing get built? If the market conditions do not allow or do not support a development, Why would we not want to allow developers to put their money where their mouth is, to go after a risky investment of their own? When you look at the history of this developer debt, take, for example, one of the largest metro districts in the nation. Highlands Ranch Metro District was developer debt. Thousands of jobs were built, or thousands of homes were created, thousands of people lived there, thousands of jobs take place there, and this bill is going to neuter that from happening again. In some cases, and out of my area, the municipality was able to create a new program where a municipal advisor would certify that the debt was below market rate and was utilizing the index. Why does this bill not allow for something like that? Like my colleague said, this cuts local government off from being able to do what needs to go in their district. So this also would end up putting the extra cost of infrastructure on the top of the home price. In my district, $90,000 of your home is in permits and fees. This would add another $30,000 to $50,000 onto that home price. In addition, pushing it even further out of the market instead of paying that debt over time. Thank you.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A few things. I think we want to be careful that given the subject matter of what we're talking about, it's possible that when the words local government are stated here, they could mean one of two different things. They could mean the city or the county. That's the authorizing entity for the Title 32 district. It's also possible that we're referring to the Metro District itself. I've been trying to track. I'm not 100% certain. I'll just put that out there. To the point from our colleague from Mesa County, sir, it's possible we're just looking at the text in Section 1 as amended in a different way. We are not prohibiting, I'll use the term cities and counties, from going ahead and being part of creating new metro districts. That's why I wanted to do the amendment in committee. I think it makes it more clear. We have sort of a sequence of things laid out in the Special District Act. Section 202 is a service plan, 203, action on the service plan, 205, judicial approval of the service plan. The new element we're setting forth, the prohibition on conflicted debt, goes in those places, so it's clear that you can't have a service plan that allows that or that fails to prohibit that. You can still continue to have a service plan in every other respect. I thought it was important to note that. Concerning affordable housing, look, complex subject. I would submit that if this were a powerful mechanism for affordable housing, we wouldn't quite be in the situation that we are in so many parts of the state. To the point about market conditions, again, when debt structures are created, most of the debt by amount is a senior position debt. First position, different people might use different words. That is put out and for the most part is bought by the market. It has been asserted repeatedly and to me directly, I've had meetings on this subject for years, that there might be some market conditions where you can't get that last little increment. The second position issuance is often pretty small, but when you look at the interest rate, when you look at the amortization schedule, which is backloaded, I've got examples here if you want to see them. This is how $2 million runs away to $10 million plus. If market conditions are so tight that they don't, let me put it a different way. Why don't we roll the second position amount into the first position amount? Why don't we issue all the debt in the first tranche at the lower interest rate? Why isn't that better for the future taxpayers? You know, I wanted to share just a little bit from the state's major newspaper on this, Denver Post, December 2019. As it turns out, direct quote, as it turns out, giving developers taxing and bonding authority was a bad idea. Just because we're $17 billion into this failed experiment of trusting for-profit companies with taxpayer dollars doesn't mean it's too late to stop. City and county officials have lost control of billions of taxpayer dollars before any of these projects are approved. Significant guardrails and controls need to be put in place. That's what I'm trying to do here with 1090. Denver Post, January 2020, direct quote. We find it appalling that in Colorado, a for-profit entity is being permitted to issue public debt and impose taxes and fees on the public. Moving forward, lawmakers and local elected officials should require that only true representatives of the public can vote on matters that would give millions of taxpayer dollars to a private business. Let's make sure there's no self-dealing in these quasi-governmental entities. I've got more examples from printed public accounts, but I'll save those for a little bit later in our discussion. Thank you, Madam Chair. I ask for a yes vote.
Representative Taggart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to clarify. I didn't write this bill, but lines 9 and 10 are very clear, and they say a local government shall not approve a service plan that permits the purchase of district debt by any entity with respect to which any director of the district has a conflict. In this particular case, that conflict is created in here by the developer, who's now the director, who's issuing that debt. So I apologize, but I think this is very clear that says that a local government cannot allow for this. That is taking the control out of local government. And while I have a respect for the situation that some metro districts have abused taxpayers, we've tried to put forth an amendment that is, in fact, makes this more and more transparent. But going to the extreme of prohibition to local government is not the way to address this problem. It will bring development in western Colorado to a halt. And we desperately need, in our community alone, we need 4,000 more residencies. And this body talks constantly about affordable housing, yet we put handcuffs on our developers who could help us with this. It doesn't make sense to me.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm going to try again. It's possible I understand the semantic point our colleague from Mesa County is making. We're not talking about prohibiting a service plan where there is any conflict of interest, because as we know, conflict of interest is baked into the model up front. We have a local government ethics code. We then have provisions that allow local government officials to proceed anyway by filing a conflict statement with the Secretary of State. There are folks in the state that file 300 or 400 of them in a given year. I'm not going that far in this bill. We know that conflict of interest as defined in the law is baked in. That's a bigger problem to try to solve some other time. What we're saying is a service plan may not be approved without a prohibition on the purchase of debt by those individuals. So where we know there are no other residents, there's sort of no such thing as a person up front without a disclosable conflict. That's a conversation for another time. I want to be clear, just as a semantic point, we're talking about prohibition on debt where there is a conflict, not service by anybody with a disposable conflict. To the point about affordable housing, look, not all developers build with metro districts. I had a representative of the industry tell me not even every developer does this problematic purchase of kind of self-issued debt. I recently came upon a developer of townhomes in the metro area, Jeffco in Arapahoe County, that kind of brags on their website, we don't have a metro district. Yeah, you got to pay in other ways. I think they have found that added transparency, lack of taxation, which can be opaque to the homeowner, is actually a selling point. I thought it was very interesting to find that. I personally hope that we see more of that kind of thing. I mean, if I were looking for condos, I would probably appreciate that kind of transparency too. So I do not believe that these problematic practices that I believe we're trying to get at very surgically while allowing the rest of the mechanism to continue is going to shut down housing in our state. Thank you.
Representative Bradley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We all know that we're in a housing crisis in Colorado. The average home value in Colorado as of 2020 was $369,000.
I'm sorry, it's getting a little bit loud. Can we keep it down? Thank you.
Thank you. And as of August 2022, that value had risen to $577,000. Colorado's had one of the nation's largest housing shortages in 2019. And the pandemic home buying hysteria has deepened the deficit since then. Even Governor Polis, in his State of State address, said Colorado's housing shortage and unaffordability are high on his agenda. Colorado had the nation's 7th highest underdevelopment estimate according to Up for Growth. It is short 127,000 housing units altogether, roughly the population of Westminster. Among more than the 300 U.S. metro statistical areas, the Denver, Aurora, Lakewood area is short 69,000 housing units. In Douglas County, we are in such a housing crisis that families and teachers have had to move out of our county because they cannot afford to buy or rent a house in the county they attend school or where they teach. This bill eliminates the utility of future agreements between cities, counties, and builders and developers by reducing the probability that developers will be reimbursed for the public infrastructure they construct as part of the development agreement. As interest rates get higher, developer debt needs get higher. With local oversight and local partnership, the issues being raised in this bill have been resolved. HB 1090 is a solution in search of a problem. Given the strong partnership between developers and local government and the number of Metro District reform bills that have passed over the last few years, now more than ever, developers are partners with and are held accountable to their local communities through service plans that the city council or county commissioners must approve. Development or debt is a critical tool for metro districts, particularly when interest rates are high, as they are now, because there just isn't a public market for this level of debt to build out the road, open space, water, internet, and other utility infrastructure for an entire master plan community. An example of this is a huge development in my District 39. Sterling Ranch was formed by Diane and Harold Smethills 25 years ago. It was a vision to incorporate 21st century living with Colorado Western life and Colorado Western lifestyle. It is a covenant-controlled community using districts rather than the HOA, and it has been for more than 3 years the most and successful master plan community in the market. It is less than 50% built out with over 1,700 homes have occupied and growing very strongly. It is a covenant controlled with homeowners on the board of the districts, but to maintain the vision, momentum, and success of the sustained of both community, the family that has invested hundreds of millions of dollars into its water system and vision of the community is deeply involved and will remain involved for the rest of their lives. Sterling Ranch will have 12,000 homes and is creating a new way of low-impact water use and sustainability, coupled with high-tech, and the family that developed it has rights to see it through in partnership with its residents and not be sure to be sheltered aside in their vision by legislator trying to solve non-existent problems in the community. Thank you.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, I guess minds can differ as to what constitutes problems. You know, we talk about representing our districts here, and the representative from Los Alamos County and the representative from Washington County, who seems to have stepped out, are pretty forceful in those points, and I appreciate that. You know, I have a spreadsheet here, tax year 2021 special district property tax revenue by type of district by county, focusing specifically on the metropolitan district taxation column. Los Alamos County, 0. Washington County, 0. Baca County, 0. Bent County is 0. All right, this appears not to be an issue in your district, sir. I'm glad it's not. Meanwhile, Douglas County, 159 million. My county, Arapahoe, 102 million. Adams County, 93 million. Statewide total for tax year 21, 781 million. I didn't run for office the first time thinking that I was going to come in here and run Metro District legislation. I have been working on this issue, or trying to, for years because of what I hear from constituents. When people move into a place and they find themselves in these structures and they find themselves facing these debt loads, which were quite opaque to them in the first instance, they come to legislators, they come to me, they come to others, they come to committee, in some cases late into the night, and they ask for relief. That is what we are here to do. So respectfully, I do believe that there is a problem. No, I believe the representative from Douglas County who just spoke does not represent Castle Rock, but I did find rather a colorful article from the Castle Rock News Press going back to last December. Headline, Castle Rock Metro District's almost $1 billion in debt. At the December 20 Town Council meeting, Assistant Director of Finance for the town presented a summary on 37 active metro districts in Castle Rock, which have a combined debt of $943 million as of 2021. Metro districts added around $58 million to their debt between 2020 and 2021. He also noted 48% of the $943 million in debt as accrued interest. So that's about $500 million of simply accrued interest. I would really encourage people who are interested to dig around the Division of Local Government and find the amortization schedules on some of those bonds. You might be surprised. Back to housing. Yes, the cost of what you pay up front, but if you want to stay housed, you have to manage the tax bill. That's really the first thing that got me going on this is the taxes, and that was raised up to me by a major in the U.S. Army who had a house in my district while he was here on orders at Buckley, by the way. We have to look at the total cost of ownership over the lifetime of being a homeowner, which very certainly includes property taxes and very certainly includes property taxes levied by metro districts. I ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Frizzell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is an honor to serve with you.
And an honor to serve with you.
I come at this particular issue with a unique perspective. As a former assessor, I am no stranger to metro districts. I, like Representative Weissman, did not run thinking that for this office, thinking that I would be working on metro district issues going forward. I've seen good metro districts and I've seen some not so good metro districts. Typically, those metro districts with the highest levy have some of the highest infrastructure costs. So I would, just looking in my own district in Castle Rock, where we have, admittedly, so many metro districts, one of which is for the community on the east side of town called Terrain. It's thousands and thousands of parcels, thousands and thousands of homes that have been built there. Way back when I first started in the assessor's office in the late 90s, this particular area of the county was deemed undevelopable because of the amount of rock and stone that existed just below the soil surface. In other words, in order to develop Terrain into housing, they were going to have to blast the heck out of it and excavate all of that hard stone out in order to build houses and put in the infrastructure, the water and sewer, and other infrastructure necessary. They did it. Today, they are still building in Terrain, still adding to the economy of Castle Rock. The mill levies in Terrain are quite high because of the cost of development. I really appreciated hearing what Representative Brown had to say about the measures undertaken in his district, because I do believe local control is extremely important. In the town of Castle Rock, the city council set forth limitations on mill levies. They said, going forward, metro districts cannot impose greater than 40 mills. So those metro districts have to figure it out if they're going to successfully finance. This is important. It's important for us to let our local government entities make those decisions on what is right for their own citizens, what is right for their own development. When it comes to rural Colorado, and yes, Representative Weissman, I realize that not all rural Colorado has metro districts. However, it is a tool for development. And today, when we are looking at an affordability crisis, and we are, We need every single tool available to create the housing, to bridge that deficit so that we can have every single citizen of this state in the type of housing that they want and deserve to be in. This is a local matter. If we take away a tool, and yes, this is a tool, this bill is a tool that is being stripped away from developers, we are limiting development. This will have, like many other regulations that we've put on business in this state, this will have a chilling effect on this state's development and ability to move forward and be economically successful. I urge a no vote on this bill. Thank you.
Rep. Winter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My good colleague from Aurora pointed out that at this point, this is not a major issue in the majority of my district, but I will not allow that data to speak for the future possibility of growth in these areas. Rural Colorado struggles to add housing already. It's an issue. I mean, we're at 0 hour in rural Colorado. This bill would not only stifle housing growth in my district and in rural counties, it would eventually stop growth altogether. We need these developers to take the risks of putting infrastructure in our areas to help us as we grow and add housing for our constituents. Like I said, the developers are taking the risk. They need to be able to cover themselves for that. So I ask you, for rural Colorado and for the growth of rural Colorado and housing for our families and our friends, I urge a no on this. Thank you.
Representative Bottoms.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I am wanting to just break up the conversation a little bit, change gears just a little, and I would like to move Amendment L008 and have it displayed.
L008 has been properly moved and is displayed. Please tell us about your amendment, Representative Bottoms.
This again is kind of a pick at the safety clause, and I don't see any emergent situation as to why this bill would need an emergency clause. And it would be a great idea to have this available to, if the people want, to be able to petition this. This really obviously is a very dual-sided issue in a lot of different ways. It'd be great if the people would have opportunity, maybe not take it, but would have opportunity to petition. So I'd like to change it to a petition clause rather than a safety clause. Thank you.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I mean, members, I guess for the record, the reason I put the safety clause in the introduced bill was that I really, I think it's pretty clear by now, I find the conflicted debt practices that we are talking about to be quite problematic. That said, you know, we can look at the language in the Constitution. We can all have different opinions about, you know, what really triggers that. What is, you know, what is peace and public decency and so forth, and all the things that we're getting at here. Believe it or not, I'm going to accept this amendment. I'm going to ask for a yes vote on the petition clause. One of the things we talked about in committee was the idea that, you know, these are these are long projects, you know, many months, in some cases many years. When we make a change like this, maybe there should be a little period of transition for that to happen. This customary increment of time, I think, is plenty long enough. So I'm going to ask for a yes vote.
Any further discussion on Amendment L8? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L8. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. L8 is adopted. To the bill. Is there any further discussion? Representative Hartsook.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you.
Prohibitions, prohibitions, prohibitions. This bill is full of prohibitions. Let me ask you something. If there was a problem in another state, would we want the federal government telling the state of Colorado to prohibit something that is happening in a different state? I think that answer would be no. Here at the state level, is it our job to tell counties how to run their business? I think not. If there's something wrong in a county, Let those county commissioners deal with it. Let the local level deal with it. We have heard Governor Polis point out clearly in his State of the State address that housing is a major problem in Colorado. I think we can all agree on that. Coming from a construction background, if we start limiting and prohibiting the ability at the local level for metro districts and developers to coordinate and do their job, then the housing is going to increase. If someone is doing something illegal, we have laws on the books to prosecute them. We don't need more regulations to prohibit illegal activity. Governor Polis wants us to solve this housing problem. Us here, we don't need to send down more prohibitions to the local level. We need to enable them to solve their problems. We need to let them run forward and come up with better ideas how they want to develop their counties, their municipalities, how they want to bond and fund it. That's their job at that level. If this bill makes it through this House chamber and through the Senate chamber, then Governor Polis must veto it, because this goes against what he's talking about and what we are trying to achieve. I thank you, and I request a no vote on this bill. Thanks.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1090 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. The ayes have it. 1090 is adopted. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of House Bill 1037.
House Bill 1037 by Representative Martinez, also Senator Gonzalez, concerning awarding earned time to nonviolent offenders who complete an accredited higher education program.
Representative Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move House Bill 231037 and the committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So there was only one amendment that was submitted in House Bill 231037, and that was in regards to clarification language in regards to what an accreditation is. So this really sticks with regional accreditation, which is, for those that don't know, the highest form of accreditation that we have currently right now in the United States. And then the other portion of that really limited making sure that those that are incarcerated cannot earn double time based off of this. And then the last bit of that is to making sure that that they could also earn time off of their parole sentences in addition to their regular sentences. So I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Assistant Minority Leader Puglisi.
Oh, I'm sorry, not on the committee report. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the judiciary report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The judiciary report is adopted. To the bill.
Thank you, Madam
Representative Martinez.
Sorry, Madam Chair. Thank you. So what this bill does is, on the face value, it's pretty simple and straightforward. So this pertains to only nonviolent offenders that are incarcerated in the Department of Correction systems under the current bill, which I have an amendment for, but they will earn 1 year off of their sentence for every regionally accredited degree that they earn, and they will earn 6 months off their sentence for every certificate that they earn. So what does that do? So right now, first and foremost, this does not cost any funds. So right now, this is zero cost to the state of Colorado, but this will generate a cost savings within the state. And why does that generate a cost savings to the state? So right now, in Colorado, we have a 54% recidivism rate. What does that mean? It means that 54% of those that we are releasing back into the public are reoffending and going back into Department of Corrections facilities. So there's been multiple studies done. The one that I'll reference here is from the Mentor study in 2005 that if an incarcerated student earns their associate's degree, their recidivism rate drops to 13.7%. If they earn their bachelor's degree, it drops to 5.6%. And if they earn their master's degree, that recidivism rate drops to 0%. So that is obviously a lot better numbers than what we have right now in the state of Colorado. That was also replicated by another institution here that deals with offers programming inside these facilities. So that dropped to 0% for their associates, 3.3% for their bachelor's degree, and they only had 1 out of 7 that recidivated when they earned their master's degree. So this absolutely shows that getting them connected to education lowers recidivism, helps them get their lives back on track. They become productive members of society, and that's better for all of Colorado.
Assistant Minority Leader Puglisi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I was asked to come on this bill. You don't see my name on there yet, but I am a co-prime on this bill. I feel very strongly that it is a good direction for Colorado. There's no appropriation, and studies show that recidivism will be decreased, which I think is good for the people and for public safety. And so I support this and am proud to be co-priming it with the good representative. Thank you.
Representative Winter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also stand in support of this bill. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing for Colorado. We talk about rehabilitating people and getting them back into society and being good, productive members of society. This incentivizes that, and it's also fiscally responsible. It puts the money back in. It puts the money back into DOC, and it helps these people get out on the street, and it helps them help us have a safer, more productive Colorado. So I urge a resounding yes vote on this. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Minority Leader Lynch. We're on the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the absence of Representative Catlin, I've been told to say, good bill, vote yes.
All right, seeing no further discussion. The question before us is Representative Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually have 2 amendments for this bill, and I would request that they would be just. I move L004 to House Bill 1037, and I request that it be displayed.
L004 has been properly moved. And displayed. To the amendment, Representative Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So what this amendment does, I worked a lot with various stakeholders that were involved in this process. This comes from the district attorneys. And so really what this does is it grants more time off for the incarcerated students per degree, higher level degree that they earn. And the whole purpose of this is to really incentivize them going up the ladder to making sure if they're working to try to get earned time off, that they are incentivized to continue increasing in their degrees and not get multiple degrees. So 2 associates, 2 bachelors. This really encourages them to continue up that ladder and making sure that they are continuing their higher educational success.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L004? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L004. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. L004 is adopted. Assistant Minority Leader Puglisi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also have an amendment, which I believe the sponsor of this bill is okay with. I move L005 to House Bill 1037 and ask that it be displayed, please. And basically, this is just removing the
The
safety.
amendment has been properly moved and is displayed. To the amendment, Assistant Minority Leader Puglisi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This just takes off the petition clause or the safety clause and adds a petition clause. It's not necessary in the bill, and I think this is a good bill, and so I think it'll move forward without any issues. But giving those people the opportunity, if they wanted to petition is always a good thing for public safety. So I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L005? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L005. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendment L005 is adopted. To the bill, Representative Soper.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. So members, I heard this bill in committee in Judiciary, and the sponsor was also kind enough to come and reach out to me beforehand. And it was a novel approach, although it's actually one where we've kind of come full circle in the state. and that's that we reduce the time you spend in Department of Corrections in prison upon earning a degree. And it may be an associate's, a bachelor's. With the amendments, we've added master's and PhD as well. And I had a couple of concerns in committee and said that I wasn't quite there yet, but upon the amendments that were just added by the sponsor, I'll be a yes vote on third reading and come into support of the bill as a whole. It is important that we look at the fact that if you're a nonviolent offender and you're able to earn a bachelor's or a master's while you're incarcerated, the rate of recidivism drops to such a level that you're the type of person we want to help, because we do not want to create future victims of crime because we already have a high recidivism rate. And if that means spending a little bit of money to help you get education so that you have the tools upon leaving DOC to have a job that pays well, that provides the stability for your family. It also provides living stability, because the ability to pay your rent or your mortgage, your car payments, be able to buy a car. That's what we've been trying to change over the last number of years here in the Colorado General Assembly, is a real focus on trying to drive down recidivism. And while our numbers have kind of had a flux, if you look at the long trend line around America, most states have had a bit of a flux, and a lot of that was because of the pandemic. So we don't really know what our state of recidivism truly is in Colorado. I will just kind of put that out there. It's one of those statistical issues. But with these changes, I do believe that our rate will go down. But we need to give it enough time to be able to allow it to play out. It can't be like our Take Two program, where we only had 1 year and then we shut it down. We need to be able to have a long enough runway to be able to see the full effects. And I hope this will be in the statute books and enforced by the executive branch for a long enough period of time that we can actually see, did our theory work? Does education drive down recidivism? Because I believe it will. I believe the studies from other states suggest that it will, and I believe here in Colorado it will as well. It's about reducing the number of future victims, because high recidivism rate means more Coloradans are victims. So I fully support this bill. Thank you to the bill sponsors. I'm glad to see that it's bipartisan, and I'll be a yes here and on third reading. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1037? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1037 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1037 is adopted. Mr. Shebo, please read the title of House Bill 1137.
House Bill 1137 by Representatives Lukens and Valdez, also Senator Hansen and Roberts, concerning measures to stabilize net metering credits calculated for an electric retail utilities purchase of electric output from a community solar garden.
Representative Lukens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1137 and the Energy and Environment Committee report.
To the committee report.
In committee, we just had to update the language for one piece of the bill. It was a very straightforward amendment, and I ask for an aye vote on the committee report.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Energy and Environment Committee report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Energy and Environment Committee report is adopted. To the bill. Representative Lukens.
I move L004 and ask for it to be properly displayed.
L004 has been moved and is properly displayed. To the amendment, Representative Lukens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an amendment from the stakeholding process. This is not a new fee. It's already authorized. This just makes it clear that it can be used for community solar. And we ask for an aye vote on L004.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L004. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendment L004 is adopted. Representative Lukens, to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this bill will stabilize the bill credit so the customer has certainty about how much they can save on their electricity bills, either by locking in the credit at the time of subscribing or on an annual basis as the Public Utilities Commission reviews and approves annual electricity rate changes. It is this stability that will have a positive impact on people and small businesses who are interested in entering this market. By subscribing to a community solar garden, you either save on your monthly bills while being part of the solar economy, and I ask for an aye vote on the bill as amended.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1137? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1137 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1137 is adopted. Mr. Shebo, please read the title of House Bill 1141.
House Bill 1141 by Representatives Lindsay and Story, also Senators Henriksen and Molka, concerning the authority of History Colorado to dispose of 3 properties and in connection therewith, authorizing the disposal of the real properties known as the McFarland House in Central City, the Pierce McAllister Cottage in Denver, and the Pueblo Museum Support Center in Pueblo.
Representative Story.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1141 and the House Committee report.
To the committee report. Representative Story.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We just made a semantics change in the bill in the Finance Committee.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Finance Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report is adopted. To the bill, Representative Lindsay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, we're here to present HB 1141. It comes from the Capital Development Committee and will allow History Colorado to sell 3 of the properties they currently own. The properties are the Pueblo Museum Support Center, the Pierce McAllister Cottage, and the McFarland House. None of these properties have been used. All have potential buyers, and when sold, the proceeds of the property will be used for the future acquisition or construction of a facility to house the state's 15 million artifacts.
Representative Story.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that this is a Capital Development Committee bill that was requested by History of Colorado. I have been to see their storage facility, and it is in a dismal state, has a lot of leaks in the roof. The leaks are captured by tarps hanging from the ceiling that feed into a tube down to garbage cans, and it's the elements within the facility are at risk of being destroyed, and so they are working hard to ensure that they can come up with some additional revenue to work towards buying a new storage facility for the artifacts for the history of Colorado. I urge an aye vote on House Bill 1141.
Representative DeGraff.
Just go and get rid of the safety clause. Just conferencing a little bit.
Please proceed, Representative DeGraff.
Okay. I mean, you can present it. You're not going to present it? Okay. Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My apologies, Madam Speaker. This bill does not deal with an emergency. This is just a continuation of the abuse of the emergency clause. I understand that the buildings are not probably up to code. I don't know what other issues there would be. This is more of a principle. So let's just be honest with the citizens and honor their constitutional right to disagree with us. Do I expect that they will? No. But Article 5, Section 1, Paragraph 3 states that the legislation passed for the immediate preservation of the public peace, health, or safety is exempt from the power of the referendum to overturn it by either signed petition of registered electors or the General Assembly. Colleagues, this is an end run around the First Amendment that Congress shall make no law
respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Again, do I expect a redress of grievances? No, but there is no emergency with this bill. There is no one bleeding. There is no one dying. The sponsor of this bill gives no justification for the right of for violating the right of the people to petition the government in regards to this bill. Again, it is about building code. Certainly, there's nothing that recommends it for the preservation of peace, health, or safety. This amendment is strictly about the proper use.
You
of
have
the
not
safety
moved an
clause.
amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move Amendment L002 to HB 1141 and ask that it be displayed. My apologies.
Amendment L002 has been properly moved and displayed. You've already explained your amendment, but if you'd like to continue, please continue.
I would like to move that I don't start over.
I second that motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L002? Representative Story.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We urge a no vote on this amendment. We absolutely need the safety clause on this bill. History Colorado needs to be able to move forward with the sale of the 3 buildings that are referenced in the bill in order to acquire the revenue so that they will have revenue to purchase a new building. They can't afford to wait. All of the elements within the current storage facility are at risk of being damaged or destroyed with every snowfall and every rain that comes. I've been in that facility. It's huge. Things are stored, on shelving that's in the building that goes like 18 feet high. The place is packed and they are running out of space, but more importantly, everything is at risk, or much of it is at risk of being destroyed because the building is not airtight. So I urge a no vote on this amendment.
Representative DeGraff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do appreciate that, and this is about building codes, and I think that is something that I don't think this actually would move this farther down the road. The safety clause doesn't, unless there's objection to it, it's not going to push things down the road. Each of us took an oath to uphold the Constitution, and the Constitution says it's for the public peace, health, or safety. This is not for the public peace, health, or safety. That's why that clause is supposed to be used. We can't just use it frivolously for the things that we want. I'm not saying this is frivolous. I'm just saying that this is not for the public peace, health, or safety, and we need to have some guardrails around how we use this clause. This law is we can't. Do I anticipate any? And I don't anticipate any problem with this. I don't anticipate any grievance from the community. I would just like to. But if we're afraid to present this present law for consideration by the government, absent some truly emergent reason to preserve the public peace, health, or safety, then it's a violation. And that's all it is. I'm not opposed to this bill. I'm just opposed to the violation of our Constitution by using a clause that does an end run around the First Amendment. Thank you.
Representative Lindsay.
Members, again, we urge a no vote on this amendment. Like Representative Story said, we have both toured this facility. It is full of all of our cool historical artifacts that they are being protected by tarps and buckets. The amendment says we need to wait till election to November of 2024. We need to sell these buildings now, so please vote no.
Is there any further discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L002. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The noes have it. L2 is lost to the bill. Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1141? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1141. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1141 is adopted. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of House Bill 1123.
House Bill 1123 by Representative Lindsay, also Senator Bridges, concerning a requirement that motor vehicle drivers take certain action to mitigate the risk their vehicles present to stationary vehicles on the road.
Representative Lindsay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
And an honor to serve with you.
Members, I'm here for HB 1123. It came out of the Transportation Legislation Review Committee. It would extend the slow down, move over protections already in statute for law enforcement and first responders to regular folks like you and me who break down. Oh, that's right. I need to move the committee report.
Please move the committee report.
This went to Transportation, Housing, and Local Government.
Please move the committee report.
Madam Chair, I move the committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This went to Transportation, Housing, and Local Government with an amendment that just clarified port of entry vehicles were covered.
Is there any further discussion on amendment on the Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the report. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report is adopted. To the bill.
Thank you, folks. Back to the bill. Thank you, Madam Chair. Drivers deserve this protection because Colorado traffic fatalities are skyrocketing. And last year, in fact, over 350 people were killed in roadside traffic accidents. This bill just affords the same protections to you and I that exist for tow truck drivers, utility drivers, and first responders, law enforcement. So I urge an aye vote on this bill. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1123? Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was on the committee for this bill. This is a good bill, and we look forward to it. This will bring some more safety that's already existing for our law enforcement, bring it to public working on their vehicles on the side of the road. So thank you for bringing it.
Representative Winter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As usual, I always bring the rural perspective. This is a good bill for rural Colorado. We have tractors going down the road. We have ranchers and farmers stopping to check their animals and livestock on the side of the road. So I definitely support this and urge a yes vote. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1123? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1123. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1123 is adopted. Mr. Schiebel, please read the title of House Bill 1125.
House Bill 1125 by Representatives Lukens and Winter, also Senators Simpson and Marchman, concerning the modernization of the process to change groundwater well owner contact information.
Representative Lukens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We move House Bill 231125.
To the bill. Who wants to speak?
Do you want to go first then? Do you want to move the...
Madam Chair.
Representative Winter.
Thank you. I would like to move Amendment L001. If it could please be displayed.
Amendment L001 has been moved.
All this does is
Wait a
remove...
second, it has to be displayed. Thank you. Has been moved and properly displayed. To the amendment, Representative Winter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a simple amendment. All it does is remove the safety clause and replace it with a petition clause. And I ask for an aye vote.
Representative Lukens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also ask for an aye vote on this amendment.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L001? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L001. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendment L001 is adopted. To the bill, Representative Lukens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colorado's water resources are critical to our way of life. Rural Coloradans largely rely on wells for water supply in their homes. This bill modernizes the long-standing requirement to update the Division of Water Resources when there is a new owner of a water well. With 12,000 owner name changes processed each year, the new online system improves efficiency and reduces errors at the agency. This bill is a technical update to state statute that removes current ambiguity on the form that title companies need to submit while supporting a residential property transaction. We ask for an aye vote on the bill as amended.
Representative Winter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as in rural Colorado, we push to have broadband brought into our districts. This is very important because a lot of times it's hard for people to get from their rural areas and get to post office and get to places where they can fax this. So I think this moves it forward for rural Colorado, and it allows them to get their business done in a more fast, efficient way. Water is a major issue for rural Colorado. Farmers and ranchers use these wells not only for their drinking water, but to make sure their livestock are well taken care of. So I urge a yes vote on this. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1125? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1125. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1125 as amended is adopted. Majority Leader Duran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
You have heard the motion. The committee will rise and report.
The House will come back to order. Mr. Shebel, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, Committee of the Whole begs leave to report as under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof and making the following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1011 as amended, 1037 as amended, 1090 as amended, 1123 as amended, 1125 as amended, 1137 as amended, 1141 as amended, passed on second reading in order, engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Speaker Pro Tem Degree Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the House now adopt the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Members, you have heard the motion. There are amendments at the desk. Mr. Shebel, please read the first Soper amendment to the Committee of the Whole.
Representative Soper moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse the action taken by the committee in not adopting the following Soper amendment, L5 to House Bill 1011, to show that said amendment passed and that House Bill 1011 as amended passed.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the first Soper amendment to the Committee of the Whole and ask for a yes vote.
The amendment is properly displayed. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the first Soper amendment to the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 20 aye, 41 no, and 4 excused, the first Soper amendment is lost. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of the second Soper amendment. Sorry, please read the second Soper amendment to the Committee of the Whole report.
Representative Soper moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse the action taken by the committee in not adopting the following Soper amendment, L6 to House Bill 1011, to show that said amendment passed, that House Bill 1011 as amended passed.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the second Soper amendment to the Committee of the Whole and ask for a yes vote.
The amendment is properly displayed. Representative Titone.
I ask for a no vote on this amendment. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the second Soper amendment to the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 18 aye, 42 no, and 5 excused, the second Soper amendment is lost. Mr. Shebel, please read the third Soper amendment to the Committee of the Whole report.
Representative Soper moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse the action taken by the committee in not adopting the following Soper amendment, L7 to House Bill 1011, to show that said amendment passed and that House Bill 1011 as amended passed.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the third Soper amendment to the Committee of the Whole and ask for a yes vote.
The amendment is properly displayed. Representative Titone.
I ask for a no vote on this amendment.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the third Soper amendment to the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 16 aye, 44 no, and 5 excused, the Soper amendment is lost. Mr. Shebel, please read the fourth Soper amendment to the Committee of the Whole report.
Representative Soper moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse the action taken by the committee in not adopting the following Soper amendment, L9 to House Bill 1011, to show that said amendment passed and that House Bill 1011 as amended passed.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I withdraw the fourth Soper amendment to the Committee of the Whole.
Thank you, Representative Soper. Mr. Shebel,
Please read the fifth Soper Amendment to the Committee of the Whole report.
Representative Soper moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse the action taken by the committee in not adopting the following Soper Amendment L10 to House Bill 1011 to show that said amendment passed, that House Bill 1011 as amended passed.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the fifth Soper Amendment to the Committee of the Whole report and ask for a yes vote.
The amendment is properly displayed. Representative Tatone.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I ask for a no vote on this amendment, a no.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the fifth Soper Amendment to the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 15 aye, 45 no, and 5 excused, the fifth Soper Amendment is lost. Mr. Schiebel, please read the sixth Soper Amendment to the Committee of the Whole report.
Representative Soper moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to reverse the action taken by the committee in not adopting the following Soper Amendment L10 to House Bill 1011 to show that said amendment passed, and that House Bill 1011 as amended passed.
Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the sixth Soper Amendment to the Committee of the Whole report and ask for a yes vote.
The amendment is properly displayed. Representative Tatone.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I ask for a no vote. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the sixth Soper Amendment to the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 15 aye, 45 no, and 5 excused, the sixth Soper Amendment is lost. The House will stand in a brief recess. The House will come back to order. Madam Majority Leader. Sorry, I'm skipping ahead. Mr. Schiebel, please read the Duran amendment to the Committee of the Whole report.
Representative Duran moved to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to show that House Bill 1123 did not pass and that the bill was laid over to February 21st, 2023.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, so members, just to give you a little background, the bill sponsor did not move the bill itself, House Bill 1123. Because of that, I'm going to lay it over and we will rehear it again on Tuesday, February 21st.
Madam Majority Leader.
Madam Speaker, so I move to amend the report of the Committee of the Whole to show that House Bill 1123 did not pass and that the bill will be laid over until February 21st, 2023.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the adoption of the Duran amendment to the Committee of the Whole report. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 59 aye, 1 no, and 5 excused, the Duran amendment is adopted. There are no further amendments at the desk. The question before us is the adoption of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Schiebel, please open the machine and members proceed to vote. Representatives Lindsay and Weinberg. Representative Lindsay. Please close the machine. With 42 aye, 18 no, and 5 excused, the Committee of the Whole report is adopted. Yes, Representative Doherty. Announcements and introductions, members.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Health and Insurance will meet 5 minutes upon adjournment in the Old State Library, and we will be hearing the bills out of order. So we will hear 1097 first, 1119, and 1150. So I will see you over there in 5 minutes.
Members, any additional announcements or introductions? Representative Story.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have requested to be excused on Monday, the 21st. The 21st.
February 20th.
Yes, that date.
So
February
approved.
20th.
So approved. Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Esteemed colleagues, I believe Monday is President's Day, a federal holiday, and an opportunity for us to spend time in our communities with our constituents and celebrating our great country. I am thankful that leadership has allowed us to do that. And if they haven't, I will send a plea of consideration for that opportunity. So, I'm not sure what's going on behind me. I'm afraid to look back. Well, a preemptive strike is always good and just in case. But what I do want to let everyone remember, that we live in the greatest country on earth. No, wait, you can't do that. No clapping. And I share as much as anyone in this chamber, my pride in being an American citizen, my pride in being an American veteran, my pride in having the opportunity to celebrate these important holidays so we can continue to be part of the great experiment that is the United States of America. So thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity that I know you will graciously consider affording us on Monday.
Representative Holtorf, that was a heartwarming tribute and an important one for a holiday when we recognize the important leadership in this country. We'll see if we can take that preemptive strike into consideration. So, Madam Majority Leader, what are we doing on Monday?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And for my colleague in Washington County, way to rain on my parade. We've all done a great job this week. We've all worked really hard. Appreciate the collaboration. And with that, Madam Speaker, I move to lay over the balance of the calendar until Tuesday, February 21st. Woo.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over until Tuesday, February 21st. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me clarify, 9 a.m. on Tuesday, February 21st.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House stand in recess until later today.
Seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess until later today.